They called it a cleanup op. That was the first lie. The commander sat in his air-conditioned tent, pointing at a map that was 20 years out of date. "It's an old copper mine," he said, not looking me in the eye. "Just clear the tunnels, burn the webs, collect the coin. Easy money." I should have asked why a mining company needed a Tier 1 Black Ops squad for a fumigation job. We dropped into the zone at 06 a.m. hours. They called this place the Green Hell for a reason. The jungle wasn't just hot, it was suffocating. The air felt like breathing hot soup, heavy with the smell of rotting vegetation and wet iron. My squad, Miller, Jax, and Vasquez, we moved in silence, boots sinking into the mud. We were the best, trained to kill insurgents and topple regimes. We weren't trained for this. The entrance to the mine looked like a wound in the earth. It wasn't blasted by dynamite. It looked chewed. The edges were jagged, organic. I stood at the threshold, my rifle raised, the flashlight cutting through the thick, humid air inside. It didn't smell like a copper mine. Copper smells sharp, metallic. This smelled sweet, sickly sweet. Like flowers left on a grave for too long, mixed with the copper tang of old blood. "Check your comms," I whispered. Static, just white noise. The jungle behind us had gone silent.
No birds, no monkeys, just the sound of us breathing. We walked into the dark throat of the earth. The tunnels were deep, too deep. The air grew colder, damp enough to slick our armor with condensation. I ran my gloved hand along the wall. It wasn't stone, it was porous, like a sponge made of rock. Millions of tiny holes, perfectly round, riddling the walls like a honeycomb of nightmares.
Contact, lower level. Watch the floor.
"Captain," Miller whispered over the local channel. "Look at the floor." I swept my light down. We weren't walking on dirt. We were walking on husks. Millions of dried, hollowed-out exoskeletons of beetles, scorpions, things I couldn't even name. It was a graveyard, and then I heard it. It wasn't a roar, it wasn't a scream. It was a rhythm, click, clack, click, clack. It started low, vibrating through the soles of my boots, a million tiny legs moving in perfect unison against the rock. It was coming from inside the walls. "Hold fire," I signaled. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Defensive circle, now!" I turned to check my six. Vasquez was right behind me a second ago. I heard his breathing. I heard his gear rattle. I turned around.
Jake?
And there was nothing, just empty darkness. "Vasquez?" I hissed. No answer, no scream, no sound of a body hitting the floor. Just gone.
Anything. Marco. David. Respond. Report! Miller! Sanchez! Say something!
Miller, Jax, sound off! I spun around, my flashlight beam cutting wild arcs through the dark. Empty. The tunnel was empty. My entire squad, 3 combat-hardened veterans, had vanished in the span of a heartbeat. There was no blood, there was no struggle, just the silence and that rhythmic clicking getting louder. Click, clack, click, clack. Panic is a cold thing. It seized my throat. I backed up against the wall, rifle raised, shaking. Something wet dripped onto my visor. I looked up. They weren't on the ground. They were on the ceiling, shadows, dozens of them.
Long, segmented shapes clinging to the rock, moving with a fluid, terrifying grace. They weren't attacking, they were hurting me. I turned to run. I didn't care about the mission. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted the sky, but the floor beneath me shifted. It wasn't mud. It was a carpet, a living carpet of writhing black bodies. Thousands of glistening centipedes the size of fingers erupted from the dirt. I lost my footing. The ground dissolved under me. I fell. I tumbled down a chute of slime and darkness.
I can't grab anything.
I hit walls that felt like wet leather, sliding down, down, down into the bowels of the planet. It felt like miles. I hit the bottom hard. My armor took the brunt of it, but I felt a rib crack. A sharp, hot pain shot through my side. I groaned, rolling onto my back, coughing up bile. My flashlight was flickering. The lens cracked, casting a jagged yellow beam. I wasn't in a cave anymore. I was in a cathedral, but this church wasn't built by men. Massive stalactites hung from the ceiling, carved into twisted alien shapes. The walls were lined with polished bone and black chitin. Bioluminescent moss glowed faintly, bathing the room in a sickly green light. And there, hanging from the ceiling, was her. She coiled around a massive pillar like a serpent, but she wasn't a snake. She was endless. Her body was armored in plates of dark gold and obsidian, segmented and perfect. And the legs, rows and rows of sharp, scythe-like legs that rippled like waves in the ocean. She descended slowly, silently. Her upper body was that of a woman, pale, breathtaking, and terrifying. Her hair was a mane of black tendrils that moved on their own. Her eyes were solid green, devoid of whites, devoid of mercy. The Centipede Queen, Scolopendra. I scrambled backward, reaching for my combat knife. "Stay back!" I screamed, my voice cracking.
We need to fall back now!
She moved faster than sound. She didn't strike, she flowed. In a blink, 50 feet of armored monster bridged the gap. She was on top of me before I could draw a breath. Her massive, segmented lower body pinned my legs and chest to the cold floor. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. Her human face hovered inches from mine. She smelled of ancient dust and iron. Her mandibles, hidden behind her human lips, clicked softly against my cheek. "You are loud," she hissed. Her voice didn't sound human. It sounded like dry leaves sliding over stone. "My children do not like loud things." "Kill me," I gasped,
the weight of her crushing my cracked rib. "Just kill me," she smiled. It was a jagged, needle-filled smile. "Kill you? No, little soldier. Flesh is common in the deep. I have plenty of meat." She ran a cold, clawed finger down my chest, stopping at my neck. But a spine, a strong, intact spine, that is rare. She reached behind her, into the pulsating sac of her lower abdomen. The sound was wet, disgusting. She pulled something out. It was alive. A golden centipede the size of a forearm. It had no eyes, only a mouth filled with hooks and hundreds of tiny twitching legs. It pulsed in her grip, hungry. "What is that?" I whispered, tears of terror blurring my vision. "What are you doing?" "A gift," she whispered, "an evolution." She slammed the creature onto the back of my neck. The scream that tore out of my throat wasn't human. It was the sound of an animal dying. Pain, white-hot, blinding, absolute pain exploded down my spinal cord. I felt the creature's teeth saw through my skin. I felt it burrowing in. It pushed past the muscle, finding the vertebrae. I felt its tiny legs wrapping around my spinal column, hooking into the nerves one by one. My vision went white. My body thrashed. But she held me down with the ease of a child holding a doll. I could feel my brain rewiring. Memories of home, of the war, of my name. They were being pushed aside, replaced by a cold, metallic static. "The bond is made," she whispered, stroking my sweating, trembling face. "Shh, it is over. You are no longer a soldier of men. You are the carrier." She pulled back, releasing me. I gasped for air, clawing at the floor. I tried to reach for my neck, to rip the thing out, but my hand stopped. My brain gave the command, but my arm refused. The parasite was in control now. "My rival," the queen said, pointing a clawed hand toward a dark tunnel reeking of acid. "The Beetle Lord. He guards the exit to the surface. He has stolen my venom heart. You will retrieve it." I looked up at her, hatred burning in my eyes. "Go to hell." She laughed, a chittering sound that made my skin crawl.
Should be.
"If you fail, the parasite on your spine will eat your nerves, one by one. You will spend eternity here as a paralyzed husk, watching my children feed. But if you succeed, if you bring me the heart, you will evolve." I tried to stand.
My legs felt wrong. They felt hydraulic, too powerful. I looked at my hands. Tiny, hard, black bristles were pushing out of my pores. My vision sharpened, shifting into a thermal spectrum. I could see the heat signatures of rats scurrying in the dark walls. I could hear the heartbeat of the queen. I wasn't just carrying a parasite, I was becoming the hive. "Run, carrier," she commanded, retreating into the shadows. "The transformation waits for no one." I turned and ran, but I didn't run like a man anymore. I moved low to the ground, my spine undulating, my speed terrifying. I plunged into the dark tunnel. I was a prisoner in my own body, racing against the monster growing inside me. I moved through the dark like oil. My boots barely made a sound on the stone. The parasite on my spine was feeding me something. Adrenaline? Venom? I didn't know, but I felt electric.
I didn't need the flashlight anymore. The cave was painted in shades of blue and orange thermal heat. I realized with horror that I wasn't just using my legs. I could feel the ghost of phantom limbs twitching on my back, pushing off the walls, guiding my balance. I reached the sector of rust. The air here was acidic, burning my nostrils. The walls were lined with decaying mining equipment, rusted excavators, crushed minecarts, all covered in thick gray webs. Stop. The voice wasn't mine. It echoed inside my skull, metallic and cold. It was the Parasite. I froze. The ground 10 feet in front of me looked wrong. The dirt was too loose. Suddenly, the earth exploded. A massive trapdoor spider, the size of a tank, burst from the wall. It was a blur of brown fur and black fangs. It lunged at me, screeching. Instinct took over. Not human instinct, hunter instinct. I didn't shoot. I didn't dive for cover. I jumped.
My legs coiled and snapped with explosive power. I launched myself 20 feet into the air, flipping over the beast. Time seemed to slow down. I saw the spider's multiple eyes tracking me. I saw the venom dripping from its fangs. I landed on its back. My fingers curled, and I felt my fingernails pop off, replaced instantly by hard, black obsidian claws. I didn't feel pain. I felt sharpness. I plunged my hands into the spider's eyes. It shrieked, a high-pitched sound that shattered the silence. It bucked, trying to throw me off. Smashing into the stone walls. Dust and rocks rained down on us, but I held on. I was a tick. I dug deeper, ripping through its brain. The giant arachnid shuddered once, then collapsed. I stood over the corpse, breathing heavy. I didn't feel disgust. I felt hunger. My stomach growled, a deep, guttural sound. Good, the voice in my head echoed. Keep moving, the rival waits. He is not alone anymore, and the hive knows him now. Something moved in the walls. The rival. The body answered before I did.